The bees that carry your colony through winter haven't been born yet. Let that settle for a moment. Right now, in the heat of August, with the goldenrod not quite open and the summer flow winding down, the bees you see flying, the ones out working the last of the season's blooms, most of them will be dead before the first hard frost. A worker bee raised in the busy summer lives only about 5 or 6 weeks. She flies herself to death. That's the deal. But the bees being laid as eggs in these late weeks are different. They're a different creature almost entirely. And whether your hive lives or dies come February depends almost completely on how you treat those bees right now, in August. I've watched more colonies die in the cold than I care to count. And here's the hard truth I had to learn the slow way. Over decades at the hives, almost none of them actually died from the cold. Not really. The cold was just the thing that finally finished a hive that was already doomed back in August and September. By the time you find that quiet box on a January afternoon, the cluster the size of a softball, dead with their heads stuck down in the cells, the mistake that killed them is already 5 or 6 months old. So if you take one thing from the time we spend together today, let it be this. Winter isn't won in winter. Winter is won in August. Everything you do in these next few weeks is you either building a colony that can survive or quietly building one that can't. And most beekeepers, good-hearted, well-meaning people, are building the second kind without even knowing it. Let me show you how to build the first kind. To do that, you have to understand what makes a winter bee, because it's one of the most remarkable things in all of nature. And once you see it, you'll never look at an August hive the same way again. That summer bee I mentioned, the one that lives 5 or 6 weeks, she's built to burn out. Her body is running hot. She's raising brood, building comb, foraging miles a day, and her fat reserves get used up fast. Think of her like a seasonal worker hired for the harvest. Work hard, short season, gone. But as the days start getting shorter and the nights cool and the flow tapers off, the colony starts raising a completely different kind of bee. We call them winter bees, or the fancier word is diutinous bees. That's Latin, it just means long-lived, and they earn that name. A winter bee can live 4, 5, even 6 months. She'll be alive in January. She's the one who will shiver her flight muscles all winter long to keep the cluster warm and keep the queen alive until spring. What makes her live so long? It comes down to a protein in her body. The researchers call it vitellogenin. Don't worry about the name. Just think of it as a fat and protein savings account stored right in her body. Winter bees are packed with it. Their fat bodies are swollen with reserves, kind of like how a bear fattens up before hibernation. That stored protein is what lets her live for months instead of weeks. And it's also what she'll draw on late in winter to produce the very first jelly to feed the very first new brood of the coming year, before there's a single flower open outside. So here is the whole ball game in one sentence. To make a good fat winter bee, the colony needs 2 things: plenty of protein coming in from pollen and a body that isn't being chewed up from the inside by mites and disease. And that second part is where the hives die. Because here's what most people don't understand. There is one enemy above all others that decides whether your colony sees spring. And it doesn't care how nice your equipment is or how much honey you left them. It's a mite the size of a pinhead, Varroa destructor, and August is the month it wins or loses. Varroa came to this country in 1987, and beekeeping in North America has never been the same since. Before Varroa, you could be a pretty careless beekeeper and your bees would mostly muddle through. Those days are gone and they are not coming back. And any old-timer who tells you he never treats and never has a problem is either very lucky, very new to telling the story, or about to lose his bees and not know why. Let me tell you exactly how this mite kills a winter colony, because when you understand the mechanism, the right action becomes obvious. The Varroa mite is a parasite. The adult female climbs onto a bee and pierces its body. Feeding, we now know from the work of researchers like Samuel Ramsey, mainly on the bee's fat body. Remember the fat body? That's the exact organ, the exact savings account that a winter bee needs full and healthy to survive until spring. So a mite feeding on a bee isn't just taking a little blood, like we used to think. It is directly eating the tissue your bee needs to live through winter. It's like a thief robbing the pantry the week before the blizzard. But it gets worse, and this is the part I really need you to hear. The mite reproduces inside the sealed brood cell on the developing baby bee, and the number of mites in your hive doesn't creep up slowly. It explodes. The mite population roughly doubles about every month during the season, so a mite load that looks like nothing in June, a level you'd never even notice, becomes a crushing infestation by September, right at the exact moment your colony is trying to raise those precious long-lived winter bees. Now put the two ideas together. In August and September, the colony is raising the bees that must live 6 months. And in August and September, the mite population is peaking. So every one of those irreplaceable winter bees is getting fed on, damaged, and infected, because the mites also carry viruses. Deformed wing virus chief among them, right as she's being made. You end up with winter bees that aren't really winter bees at all. They look fine when you glance in there in October. Big cluster, look strong, but they're hollow. Their fat bodies are depleted. They're carrying a viral load, and instead of living 6 months, they die in 8 or 10 weeks. So you check in November, looks alive. December, getting quiet. And by late January, the cluster is too small to keep itself warm, and one cold snap ends it. And you stand there in the snow blaming the weather. It wasn't the weather, it was the mites. And it was August. So let's talk about what you actually do. Because I'm not here just to scare you. I'm here to walk you through it, step by step. The way I wish somebody had walked me through it years ago. Step 1. You have to know your mite level. Not guess it. Know it. This is the single most important thing I'm going to tell you, and it's the step almost everybody skips. You cannot look at the outside of a hive or even peer down between the frames and tell how bad your mites are. By the time you can see mites crawling on adult bees in plain sight, you are in a 5-alarm fire. The damage is already deep, so you measure. And the way you measure is you count mites on a sample of bees. The two good methods are an alcohol wash or a sugar shake. I'll be honest with you about both. The alcohol wash kills the sample of bees, about 300 of them, half a cup, and it's the most accurate. The sugar shake doesn't kill the bees, but it's a little less reliable if you rush it. For years, I couldn't stand the idea of killing even a half cup of bees, so I did sugar rolls. I'll let you make your own peace with that. But whichever you pick, the number you're after is mites per 100 bees. You take your half-cup sample, you get your mite count, and you divide. Here's how to read that number in August. Under about 2 mites per 100 bees, that's 2%. You're in reasonable shape, but keep watching. Around 3%, it's time to act. Get to 6% or higher, and you are in serious danger of losing that colony over winter. And you need to treat now, not next weekend. I want to slow down and be very clear here, because this is the #1 mistake I see, year after year, and good beekeepers make it. They think, my bees look great, big population bringing in nectar, I'll be fine. A booming August colony can have a lethal mite load. In fact, the big strong colonies are often the ones that crash hardest, because all that brood rearing gave the mites all that brood to breed in. Strength is not safety. Only a low mite count is safety. Please measure. Step 2. Once you know your number and you know you need to act, treat, and treat correctly. Now, I'm not going to stand here and tell you there's one magic product. There are several real, effective miticides, and each has trade-offs. And the honest truth is the right choice depends on your temperature and whether you've got honey supers on. Let me give you the plain version. There are the organic acids, formic acid and oxalic acid, and there are a couple of others like thymol, which comes from the thyme plant, and some synthetic strips. Formic acid is one of the few that penetrates the sealed brood cell and kills mites where they breed, which is powerful, but it must be used inside the right temperature window. Too hot and it can hurt your bees and even your queen. Read the temperature range and respect it. Oxalic acid is wonderful, but here's the catch you must understand. It only kills mites that are out on the adult bees riding around. It does nothing to mites hidden under the cappings. So in August, when you've got lots of sealed brood, a single oxalic treatment barely dents the problem because most of your mites are tucked away safe. That leads to something I really want you to sit with. The timing of your treatment matters as much as the treatment itself. The goal is to knock the mites down before the winter bees are raised, not during, not after. If you wait until October to treat, even if you kill every mite, it's too late. The damage is done. Those winter bees were already fed on as larvae. You've cleaned the house after the guests already got sick. So the target is to be measuring in early August and, if the number says so, treating in August so that the bees raised in late August and September, the real winter bees, are raised clean. Read the label, I mean that literally. In this country, the label on a registered miticide is the law, and it's also hard-won safety information. Follow the dose, the temperature range, and the rules about honey supers. Don't freelance. Don't use the horse and cattle version of a chemical because it's cheaper. I've seen people ruin colonies and contaminate their comb for years doing that. The shortcut costs you the whole hive. And here's a bit of honesty most folks won't give you. Treating once may not be enough. If your count was very high, you may knock it down and find it creeping back up because mites keep emerging from brood. So you measure again a couple of weeks after treatment to make sure it actually worked. A treatment you never check is just a hope. I've fooled myself before, felt good about doing the treatment, and never confirmed it landed. Don't be me. Verify. Now, step 3. And this is the other half of building a good winter bee. Feed the protein side of the equation. Remember, a winter bee needs a belly full of that fat and protein reserve, and she builds it from pollen, real pollen coming in, or the bee bread stored in the comb. In many parts of the country, the late summer can be what we call a dearth. It's hot, the flowers are done, and very little is coming in. During a dearth, the colony can actually stop raising brood or slow way down right when you need it raising healthy winter bees. So look at your frames. You want to see stored pollen, those cells packed with dense, multicolored bee bread near the brood. If you see plenty, good. If the frames look bare of pollen and the bees seem to be shutting down brood, that colony may need a protein supplement, a pollen patty. Keep raising well-nourished bees into the fall. I'll be straight with you. A real pollen patty in a dearth can genuinely help a light colony. But don't slap patties on every hive by reflex. In some regions, in some years, patties in late summer can also feed small hive beetle larvae. And a strong hive with plenty of natural pollen doesn't need them at all. Look first. Feed the need, not the habit. Which brings us to the fourth piece, stores. The honey and the sugar. This is the part everybody remembers because it's the obvious one. Bees need food for winter. And yes, they do. Depending on how hard your winter runs, a colony needs a good amount of honey banked to make it to spring. In colder northern country, that can be 60, 80, even 90 pounds. In mild southern country, a good deal less. You learn your own number by keeping records year to year and by hefting the back of the hive to feel its weight. But I've put stores fourth on purpose, and here's why. I have seen countless colonies die in winter with plenty of honey still in the box. Frames of capped honey, right there, inches from the dead cluster. They didn't starve for lack of food. They died because the cluster got too small and too weak. Mite-damaged winter bees to move to the honey, or to keep enough heat to survive. A pile of food does a dying colony no good, so get your mites and your nutrition right first and then, yes, make sure they're heavy enough. If you do need to feed sugar to build up their stores for winter, the rule is to feed a heavy syrup in the fall. 2 parts sugar to 1 part water, thicker than the spring syrup, because the thicker syrup is closer to honey and the bees can cure and cap it with less work as the weather cools. Get that feeding done while it's still warm enough for them to take it down and process it. Once it turns cold, they can't take syrup well anyway, and you're stuck. Let me pull back for a moment because I've thrown a lot at you, and I want to give you the shape of the whole thing so it sits in your mind. August is your decision month. In August, you open the hive with a clear head and you ask 4 questions. What is my mite count? Measured, not guessed. Is protein coming in, or do these bees need help to raise good winter bees? Are they heavy enough for my winter? And if not, can I feed them up in time? And is the colony strong and queen right, with a good laying queen heading into fall? Answer those 4 honestly in August. Act on them, and you have done 90% of what it takes to see your bees in April. Now let me spend a little time on the mistakes because knowing what kills hives is half of keeping them alive, and I've made most of these myself. The first mistake we've covered, trusting how the hive looks instead of measuring the mites. I can't say it enough. Strong looking is not safe. The second mistake is treating too late. October treatment is a funeral you're paying for. The winter bees are made in August and September. Protect them while they're being made. The third mistake is what I call the just this once gamble. Skipping the mite check because it's hot, or you're busy, or the bees look fine, and telling yourself you'll get to it. That skipped August check is the most expensive shortcut in all of beekeeping. It costs you the whole colony, plus a winter of wondering what went wrong. The fourth mistake is going the other way, overdoing it, dumping treatment after treatment on bees without measuring, using things off-label, treating when it's too hot for the product. You can absolutely harm your own bees, kill a queen, or breed mites that resist the chemical you keep leaning on. More is not better. Measured and correct is better. And a fifth, subtler one, forgetting that your neighbor's bees are your bees' problem too. Late in the season, when weak, heavily infested colonies start to collapse, stronger colonies rob them out. They carry the dying hive's mites right back home. This is called a mite bomb, and it's real. You can do everything right, treat perfectly in early August, and then pick up a fresh load of mites in September from a collapsing hive down the road. That's one more reason to measure again in the fall, and one more reason gently to help the other beekeepers you know get this right. We're all downwind of each other's mites. Now, I promised you honesty, so here's some. Not everything in this world is settled science, and I won't pretend otherwise. The exact mite thresholds I gave you, the 2, 3, 6%. Those are good, defensible working numbers that come out of extension research and long practice. But bees are living things, and your mileage varies by region and season. Treat them as strong guidelines, not gospel. The research on some natural and mechanical methods, brood breaks, screened bottom boards, certain hygienic bee genetics, is real and promising. And I'm genuinely hopeful about breeding bees that handle mites themselves, which is the long game we all want. But none of that is yet a substitute in most operations for knowing your number and acting on it. I'd be doing you a disservice to oversell any of it. And let me be honest about the emotional side too, because I know it's there. Somewhere around 4 out of 5 people who start keeping bees quit within their first couple of years. And when I talk to them about why, it almost always comes back to this. They lost colonies over winter, again and again, and they didn't know why. And it broke their heart and their wallet, and they gave up thinking they just weren't cut out for it. I want to tell you plainly, it usually wasn't them. It was August. It was a mite problem nobody taught them to look for. You are learning right now the thing that would have kept most of those people in the craft. Don't quit. Just measure your mites and get your timing right, and you'll be amazed how many winners you win. So, here's where we land, you and I. The cold doesn't kill your bees. A Dead-Looking Box in January is the last chapter of a story that was written in the warm weeks of late summer. The bees that carry your hive through the dark months are being born right now, and they can only be as strong as you let them be. Keep the mites off them while they're being made. Make sure there's protein for their bodies and honey in the bank. Keep a good queen laying into the fall. That's it. That's the whole secret, and it isn't really a secret at all. It's just paying attention in the 1 month most people don't. So this week, before the goldenrod finishes and the days get any shorter, go out to your hives and do the thing. Pull your sample, get your number, look at your pollen, and heft the back of the box. Don't put it off till the weather turns, because by then, the decision's already made for you, and it won't be the one you wanted. Do that. And next spring, when so many boxes around you are silent, you'll lift your lid on a warm April morning and hear that low, steady hum coming up to meet you, and you'll know you earned it back in August. Take care of those bees. They're counting on you more than they know. I've got plenty more to show you as the seasons turn, so stick around, and I'll see you at the next hive.